certain location. Because wherever you do your residency program, you're going to start making connections, and that's what the profession is about, making connections in terms of where you want to practice. So, and what I find is that when people can't decide about which residency programs to go to, when you actually go and interview at these programs, you get to meet the people that you'll be working with for the next 12 months or more, and you're going to see where you fit in the most, who's going to provide you with the right balance of usually either direct patient contact or in terms of supervising. And there's advantages to both. Certainly, direct patient care allows you to perhaps more formalize your routine in terms of how you approach patient care and your model of how you treat patients, but in terms of supervising students, you get exposed to a much larger variety of patient cases and patient numbers. We have 3 new optometry schools that are opening up, and certainly each of those schools, in addition to our existing 17 schools, need continual faculty member. Not everyone works forever, so people certainly retire. But it's very exciting, I think, in terms of having our 3 optometry schools open in Sonoma, California, Glendale, Arizona, as well as San Antonio, Texas. So I think the opportunities are certainly there for those of you who have the passion to be in an academic environment, either full-time or part-time. Okay, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for coming. It's very nice to see so many young, excited optometrists here today. My position on this panel is probably fairly unique because I graduated not all that long ago. My name is Steve Baker. I graduated in '02 from SUNY Optometry, and I feel like it certainly wasn't very long ago where I was sitting where you're sitting today. I grew up on Long Island, and I don't practice on Long Island, as you can see from the map. Oswego is somewhere in the middle of Lake Ontario. Actually, it's a little further down than that, but it's about 6 or 7 hours from Manhattan. And when I moved there, I didn't know anybody there, so it's certainly a unique thing going to a community that's a small community, a rural community, and not actually having any connections. So I had to build what I did up from not knowing anybody. You know, I didn't really know what to talk about at this presentation. So I decided to just sort of tell you what I did, because I think it's actually pretty unique. You know, I was sitting in second year in Dr. Soroka's class, and we did a paper on where we had to practice and where we wanted to practice, and we had to write about the community and what it would be like to open up a practice in that community. I picked Syracuse, New York, because I already knew I wanted to live there, and I realized that that was a very specific advantage when it comes to graduation, because if you already know where you want to live, there's no reason you can't find your position early. And I knew also that I wanted to join an existing private practice. I didn't want to open cold because I thought it would be pretty difficult and expensive. And the last thing I wanted coming out of optometry school with hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt is hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of more debt. So I decided to join an existing practice. And Dr. Soroka's class was extremely useful, as was that paper, because I really researched the area. I found about 6 or 7 private practices that met my criteria as the practices that I wanted to join, and I went and visited them, thinking now not about Dr. Soroka's paper anymore, but about what I wanted to do. Because ultimately you're sitting there in optometry school, and you're trying to get good grades in courses, et cetera, but you're really there to provide for the rest of your life. So this is the most important thing that I did in optometry school. So basically the first thing that I think you should all do is decide where you want to live and how you want to practice. Because then you can worry about how you're going to get there. Now once you do decide, how you get there is certainly by going to places and talking to people. I decided the practice that I wanted to join, and they weren't even necessarily looking for someone to join the practice. But there's no reason that you can't convince them why it's not a good idea for you to join the practice. So after convincing my senior doctor that it was a good idea to hire me, you've then got to grow your practice as well. And I think I can offer some unique tips on how to grow your practice once you're already in one. I did 11 things that allowed me to double the size of the practice that I have now bought into within 3 years. And it was a big practice to begin with. And I'm going to share them with you. The first is to go to nursing homes. Nursing homes are extremely underrepresented cohort of the population when it comes to optometry. They all need optometric services. And not only do you get to see really unique things when you're in nursing homes, but you also get many appreciative thanks from the staff, and they all get to come and see you and bring their families to see you as well. So it's an excellent way to build a practice. The second thing, and the second thing is certainly one of the techniques that I used to convince the doctor why he needed to hire me, was to establish vision therapy within my private practice. There was no vision therapy in the area. He wasn't offering vision therapy through his practice. So by adding it, I increased revenue to the practice and got a ton of referrals from outside sources. Number 3 was communication. You have to communicate with your fellow healthcare providers. Once they see that you write a fabulous report, give them all the health information that they need, they know that you are a competent practitioner. And from that, you will get referrals from them as well. And as soon as somebody asks their patients about who their eye doctor is, and they mention you, they know who they are and say, okay, good. Number 4, community organizations. You can join a lot of community organizations, whatever you're interested in, whether that's joining a local soccer team or your local Lions club. You get to meet people. Like I said, I didn't know anybody when I moved to my community. I moved there because my wife was from that area, and we wanted to settle there, not because I was. Number 5, have kids, have a family, buy a house, etc., etc. Sounds a bit strange, but I realized when my kids started playing soccer and I met all the parents and sent them to school, it was a great way to meet people, and it's a really good thing to meet people in your community. You know, I'm not saying you only need to go out and have kids, but at the same time, it's a very nice, rewarding experience. Number 6, and this was another thing that I knew I could add to the practice when I joined it, was low vision. Just like vision therapy, I figured this was a good way to add a segment to a already large private practice that wasn't currently there. So in my cover letter to my doctor, when I was convincing him that he needed to hire me, I said that I noticed you are not currently certified in New York State to provide low vision services. I'm going to do an externship in low vision in my 4th year, and I did, and therefore became New York State certified in low vision. And again, low vision in itself may not exactly be particularly financially rewarding, though it can be. You get a lot of referrals from family members for providing a great service to the community. Number 7, community presentations, and I couple infancy with that. You need to go out there and advertise yourself to many different groups. I usually do about 6 or 7 presentations a year. I've given talks from diabetic retinopathy to school-related vision problems to care for the infant. And I've given these talks to many different groups, health forums on diabetes, school nurses on how to do screenings, Rotary and Lions clubs on care for macular degeneration and low vision patients, because Lions clubs are all about the visually impaired, being formed by Helen Keller long ago. Number 8, home visits. If a patient comes in and says, you know what, my mother has macular degeneration, but she's suffering from dementia, she just can't get out of the house, she doesn't have a pair of glasses, can you do a home visit? The answer is always yes, of course. I do it on my nursing home days. I just stop on the way there. It's a very rewarding thing, and patients will appreciate it forever. Number 9, evening hours, and you can couple weekend hours into that. I don't actually offer any weekend or evening hours because I didn't want to after a couple of years, but I did for my first couple of years. And I certainly did see a group of patients during that time slot that normally I don't think I would have seen. Number 10, 24-hour emergency on-call. My answering machine